teachers, we often focus on what we teach. However, how we begin and analyze it is equally important because it influences students' motivation, participation, and overall learning by experience. By the end of the session, you will be able to first explain the importance of starting a lesson effectively. Second, differentiate leads in warmers and icebreakers. And the last one is identify techniques for closing a lesson effectively. And now let's begin. Next. So, to begin our class, I would like to ask you some questions.
Yeah.
So, imagine you are in a classroom. I will give you two scenarios. So, imagine two classrooms. The first classroom, the teacher enters and immediately says, "Open your book to page 45 and start reading." And the second scenario, the teacher greets students and asks for an interesting question and begins with a short activity. Which classroom would you prefer to join?
I choose second scenario.
And why?
Because it's look more fun, right? And the student can feel comfort for the activities.
Alright, thank you, Rosa, for the answers. So, most students will probably choose the second classroom because it feels more welcoming, engaging, and interactive. The simple example shows us that the beginning of the lesson can have a significant impact on the student's attitude toward learning. Next is why starting lesson important. So, when students enter the classroom, they may still be thinking about the previous classes, personal problems, or conversational with the friends. So the teacher task is to help students transition into learning mindset. A good lesson start helps students focus, feel motivated, and become actively involved in the learning. There are several techniques teacher can use, such as greeting students individually, using welcome messages on the board, starting activities immediately, creating curiosity through questions or puzzles, and using warm-up activities. When students are engaged from the beginning, they are more likely to stay engaged throughout the lesson. Next. And now we talk about leads-in, warmers, and icebreakers. These are three ways to start a lesson. So, for the first one is leads-in. Leads-in are activities that introduce students to the lesson topic. Their main purpose is to activate students' background knowledge and create curiosity about what they are going to learn. A lead-in acts as a bridge between what students already know and what they are about to learn. For example, before teaching a lesson about environmental issues, a teacher might show pictures of polluted rivers, factory smoke, and plastic waste. The teacher can ask them questions such as, what can you see, what problems are shown in these pictures, and have you ever seen something similar? Students begin to think about the topic before the actual lesson starts. This makes learning more meaningful because students become actively involved rather than simply receiving information. Second one is warmers. So warmers are activities that prepare students mentally, emotionally, and sometimes physically for learning. Students often arrive in a class feeling tired, distracted, and unmotivated. A warmer helps shift their attention toward the learning and create a positive classroom atmosphere. Unlike leads-in, warmers don't always need to be related to the lesson topic. So, for example, a teacher might ask students to stand up and find someone who has the same favorite food, someone wearing the same color shirt, or someone who enjoys the same hobby. These simple activities encourage movement, interaction, and participation. So warm-ups are especially useful in the morning classes or when students seem low on energy. They help students become more active and ready to learn. The last one is icebreakers. Icebreakers are activities designed for situations where students do not know each other well. They are commonly used on the first day of the class or when a new group is formed. The purpose of the icebreaker is to help students feel comfortable, reduce anxiety, and build positive relationships. For example, the students can work in pair and introduce their partners to the class. They might share information about hobbies, interests, favorite movies, or future goals. This activity encourages communication and helps create a friendly classroom environment. When students feel comfortable with their classmates, they are usually more willing to participate in this discussion and learning activities. The next one is closing the lesson. Effective lesson closure. A good closure should, first one, review key points. Second one is check understanding. Third one, encourage reflection. And fourth one is clarify misunderstandings. And last one is introduce the next lesson. And now let me ask you some questions. Which activity would you use in your future classroom and why? It's in warmers or icebreakers.
I prefer to icebreaker class.
Why?
Yeah, it's because more funny, right? And and it make students more active during learning. And yeah.
Okay, thank you for your answers. Next one. And now is the conclusion for today's class. So we learned that a successful lesson requires both an effective beginning and an effective ending. We discussed three important activities used at the beginning of a lesson. First one is listen, create curiosity and connect students to the lesson topic. Second, warmers, prepare students mentally and physically for learning. The last one is icebreakers, help students become comfortable with one and another. We also learned that lesson closure is important because it allows students to review, reflect, and prepare for the future learning. As a future teacher, we should remember that a good lesson is not only about delivering content, it is also about creating a positive learning experiences from the beginning to the end. And thank you for your attention for today and have a nice day, guys.